I'm Albert Camus. I was born on November 7, 1913, in Mondovi, Algeria. My childhood was difficult. I lost my father in World War I when I was barely a year old. I grew up in a poor neighborhood in Algiers with my illiterate mother, stern grandmother, and deaf uncle, despite poverty. I excelled as a student. My teacher, Louis Germain, helped me secure a scholarship. However, at 17, I contracted tuberculosis, which changed the course of my life. I had to move in with my uncle, and there began my journey with reading and writing. I enrolled at the University of Algeria to study philosophy. During this time, I began writing and briefly joined the Communist Party. I worked various jobs: car parts, salesman, meteorologist, and journalist. During World War II, I moved to Paris and joined the French Resistance. In 1942, I published my first novel, The Stranger, which was a great success. I followed it with The Myth of Sisyphus, where I introduced the concept of absurdism that became central to my work. I continued writing and publishing. Among my most important works are The Plague, 1947, and The Rebel, 1951. I believed in the necessity of rebellion against injustice and oppression, but I opposed violence as a means of change. In 1957, I won the Nobel Prize in Literature. It was a surprise to me, especially as I was only 44 years old. Unfortunately, my life ended abruptly in a car accident on January 4, 1960. I had been planning to write a new novel, but fate didn't allow it. Throughout my life, I tried to explore the meaning of human existence in an absurd world. I believed that humans must create their own meaning in life in the face of meaninglessness. I'm Albert Camus, a French-Algerian writer and philosopher. You may know me through my works that left a mark on the world of literature and thought in the 20th century. My literary journey began in 1942 with my first novel, The Stranger. I wanted to explore the idea of absurdity through the character of Meursault, a man who finds himself a stranger in a world he doesn't understand. I didn't expect this novel to stir up so much controversy and interest. 5 years later, in 1947, I wrote The Plague. I chose the city of Oran in Algeria, my motherland, to be the stage for the events of the novel. I wanted to talk about Nazism and occupation, but in a symbolic way. It was also an opportunity to reflect on how humans behave in the face of crises. I continued writing, and in 1956, I published The Fall, followed a year later by Exile and the Kingdom. Each novel was like a new journey in exploring human existence and meaning, or perhaps the absence of meaning, in life. Unfortunately, I couldn't complete everything I wanted to write. In 1960, at the age of 46, my life ended suddenly in a car accident. But it seems that the words I left behind continued to live on after me. After my death, some of my unfinished works were published. A Happy Death, which I wrote before The Stranger, and The First Man, which I was working on when I died. They found it in the wreckage of my car, incomplete. I didn't limit myself to writing novels. I also wrote for the theater, such as the play Caligula. And I had contributions to philosophy with essays like The Myth of Sisyphus and The Rebel. I was always trying to explore ideas such as absurdity, rebellion, and freedom. I didn't know that my words would continue to resonate for decades after my departure. All I wanted was to understand this complex world and share my thoughts with others. I hope that my words have touched the hearts and minds of many, and that they continue to provoke questions and thought in future generations. The absurd is born from this confrontation between human appeal and the unreasonable silence of the world. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. Life would be better if it had meaning. Awareness of absurdity does not lead to despair, but to liberation. The absurd is the first step towards freedom. In an absurd world, the only thing that has meaning is rebellion. Absurdity liberates us from the illusion of immortality. Believing in the meaninglessness of life does not mean despairing of it. The absurd makes us face the truth of our existence with courage. In facing the absurd, we create meaning for our lives. Absurdity is the natural state of human existence. Understanding the absurd leads to accepting life as it is. Absurdity invites us to create value in a world without value. In an absurd world, honesty with oneself is the only virtue. The absurd frees us from the illusions of the past and anxiety about the future. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. In the end, all we have is the absurdity of our existence. Life would be better if it had meaning. The absurd is born of this confrontation between the human need and the unreasonable silence of the world. There is no love of life without despair of life. Awareness and hopelessness are not the end of happiness, but its condition. In the midst of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer. To understand the world, one must turn away from it on occasion. Life is the sum of all your choices.
If your life feels like an endless struggle, you're not alone. And maybe, just maybe, that's okay. Albert Camus called it the absurd, the clash between our desire for meaning and the universe's indifference. We crave purpose, yet the cosmos remains silent. It sounds bleak, right? But Camus had a different take. Instead of drowning in despair, he urges us to confront this absurdity head-on. Acceptance is our first step. Acknowledge life's randomness without giving in to hopelessness. It's not about surrendering, it's about seeing clearly. Next, revolt. Defy the absurd by creating your own meaning, finding joy in the struggle itself. Camus saw Sisyphus endlessly pushing his boulder as a hero, not because he was winning, but because he was fighting. And in this fight, we find freedom. With no inherent rules to follow, we're free to craft our own values. Passionate living becomes our rebellion, our anthem. So embrace the absurd, find beauty in the struggle. Life's meaning might just be in the journey, not the destination.
Love is the silence that speaks. In love, we find the courage to face the absurdity of existence. Love is the meeting point between freedom and responsibility. True love begins where self-interest ends. In love, we discover our shared humanity. Love is rebellion against the solitude of existence. Love gives us the strength to face meaninglessness. In love, we find the courage to be vulnerable. Love is the bridge between self and other. True love asks for nothing in return. In love, we discover the meaning of existence. Love is the triumph over our selfishness. Love gives us the courage to face death. In love, we find true freedom. Love is the silent revolution against the absurdity of life.
I bet you didn't know love could be an act of rebellion. For Albert Camus, it's a way to defy the absurdity of life. In a world where meaning is elusive, Camus argues that love binds us together. It's our lifeline to solidarity and companionship. Love is not about perfection, it's about embracing flaws and complexities. Camus saw love as a rebellion. When we love, we declare life's value against an indifferent universe. It's an intense, passionate affirmation of our humanity. Love gives joy, making our existence rich and vibrant. But there's more. Love carries an ethical responsibility. It means caring deeply, acting with integrity, and respecting the other person. Through love, we transcend isolation, finding profound connections and shared humanity. Camus' works like The Plague and The Myth of Sisyphus illustrate how love creates meaning. So next time you feel the weight of the absurd, remember, love is your rebellion, your joy, and your ethical compass. Embrace it.
In the depth of winter, I finally learned that within me there lay an invincible summer. Solitude is the furnace of transformation. We all carry within us our places of exile, our crimes, and our ravages. Solitude is the price we pay for our uniqueness. In solitude, we confront the absurdity of existence. The path to self-discovery often leads through solitude. Solitude is the mirror in which we truly see ourselves. In solitude, we find the courage to be authentic. The strength to face the world is born in solitude. Solitude is not the absence of company, but the moment when our soul is free to speak to us. In solitude, we learn to distinguish between loneliness and aloneness. The deepest insights often emerge from moments of solitude. Solitude is the classroom where we learn about ourselves. In embracing solitude, we find our inner strength. Solitude is the laboratory where we experiment with our existence.
born into a world teeming with life, yet we grapple with a profound sense of solitude. This feeling of isolation, as Albert Camus eloquently argued, stems from our confrontation with the absurd. The absurd, in Camus' philosophy, is the chasm between our innate human desire for meaning and the universe's inherent indifference to our yearnings. This realization, the stark awareness of life's lack of inherent meaning, can be a jarring experience. It can leave us feeling unmoored, adrift in a sea of uncertainty. We search for answers, for patterns and purpose, but the universe offers no concrete solutions. This disorienting encounter with the absurd is often what propels us into solitude. We retreat inward, seeking solace and understanding within the confines of our own thoughts and emotions. It is in this space of solitude, stripped bare of external distractions. The confrontation with the absurd is not a descent into nihilism, though it may feel like it. A call to acknowledge the freedom and responsibility that comes with realizing life's inherent lack of preordained purpose. Solitude, like life itself, is not a monolithic experience. It wears many masks, takes on different hues depending on the individual and their circumstances. For some, solitude is a welcome respite, a chance to recharge and reconnect with their inner world. They find solace in quiet contemplation, in the gentle rhythm of their own thoughts. For others, solitude can be a heavy cloak, a constant companion that amplifies feelings of loneliness and isolation. They may crave connection, yearn for the warmth of human interaction, yet find themselves trapped in a cycle of solitude that feels inescapable. Camus understood this duality of solitude. He recognized that it could be both a source of profound insight and a wellspring of despair. In his seminal work, The Stranger, Morceau, the detached protagonist navigates a world that seems indifferent to his existence. His solitude is both a consequence of his own emotional detachment and a reflection of the absurd world he inhabits. The human experience is one of inherent solitude. We are born alone, we die alone, and for much of what lies in between, we navigate the complexities of life within the confines of our own minds. This existential isolation, this fundamental aloneness, is a universal truth, whether we readily acknowledge it or not. We build connections, forge relationships, and surround ourselves with loved ones, yet our thoughts, our fears, our deepest desires remain ours alone. We yearn to bridge this chasm, to share the entirety of our being with another, but the nature of consciousness, the very essence of our being, prevents complete and utter union. This realization, while daunting, is not a cause for despair. Instead, it is an invitation to embrace the paradoxical nature of our existence. We are simultaneously individuals, navigating the world through our unique perspectives, and interconnected beings, bound by shared experiences and the common thread of humanity. While solitude can be a source of unease, it can also be a wellspring of creativity and self-discovery. It is in the quiet moments of reflection, when the clamor of the outside world fades away, that we gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Artists, writers, and thinkers throughout history have retreated into solitude to tap into their creative reservoirs. It is in these moments of solitude, free from distractions, that the seeds of their most profound works were sown. Camus himself, a man who grappled deeply with themes of isolation and the absurd, found solace and inspiration in solitude. In the stillness of solitude, we confront our deepest fears, our hidden desires, and our unrealized potential. It is here, in this fertile ground of self-reflection, that we begin to cultivate a more profound understanding of our place in the world. We begin to shed societal expectations and embrace the raw, unfiltered essence of who we are.
The only way to deal with time is to make the most of the present moment. Time is the currency of life. Spend it wisely. The future is the only kind of property that the masters willingly give to the slaves. We are all racing against time, yet it's not a race we can win. Time reveals all. It's the ultimate truth teller. In the face of eternity, our time is but a blink of an eye. The awareness of time passing gives urgency to our existence. Time is the medium through which we experience the absurd. The present moment is the only time we truly possess. Time is the fire in which we burn, and the crucible in which we are formed. Our relationship with time defines our approach to life. Time is both our greatest asset and our most relentless enemy. In the end, it's not the years in your life that count, it's the life in your years. Time is the canvas on which we paint our lives. The tyranny of time teaches us the value of each moment.
If your life feels like a never-ending treadmill, you're not alone. Camus, the philosopher of the absurd, says, "Forget the past and ditch the future. Life is happening right now." According to Camus, time is absurd. It's always slipping away, reminding us that nothing lasts forever. But here's the catch. That's exactly why we should savor each moment. Camus argues that meaning isn't found in some eternal afterlife or grand design. It's created in the here and now, in the intensity of our experiences. Think of Sisyphus, endlessly pushing that boulder uphill. It's the struggle itself that fills his heart. In our repetitive routines, we can find freedom and defiance. And when we embrace the present, we also find solidarity with others. We're all in this together, navigating the absurdity of time. So let's live fully and authentically, one moment at a time.
Death is the only truth we all share. Awareness of death gives us the courage to live. Death makes life both absurd and precious at the same time. In facing death, we discover the value of each moment. Death is the end that gives meaning to every beginning. Fear of death is fear of life itself. Death liberates us from the illusion of immortality. In the shadow of death, we find the motivation for creativity. Death is the greatest teacher of life. Awareness of death drives us to rebel against absurdity. Death makes us appreciate life more. In facing death, we discover the truth of our existence. Death is the limit that gives shape to our lives. Death reminds us of the importance of living authentically. In the shadow of death, we find the courage to be ourselves.
What if death is the key to truly living? According to Albert Camus, death epitomizes the absurd. It's the ultimate reminder that our search for meaning often clashes with the indifferent reality of existence. Imagine this. No matter what you do or believe, death is waiting at the end. That stark reality challenges us to confront our mortality head-on. In works like The Myth of Sisyphus and The Stranger, Camus argues that accepting death is essential for living authentically. Forget false hopes of an afterlife or ultimate purpose. The real power lies in embracing the present. Camus suggests we live with intensity and create our own meaning, defying the absurd by passionately engaging with life. This recognition of death also grants us a unique freedom, allowing us to break free from societal constraints and live true to ourselves. And here's the kicker. Our shared mortality can foster deeper connections and compassion among us all. Death, the great equalizer, can actually bring us closer together. So, in the face of the absurd, how will you choose to live?
To be authentic is to bear the weight of one's own existence. The most authentic path is the one we carve for ourselves. Authenticity demands courage in the face of social pressure. To live authentically is to embrace our absurd condition. The authentic life is one lived without masks. Authenticity is the rebellion against societal expectations. In authenticity, we find our true freedom. The path to authenticity is paved with self-reflection. To be authentic is to accept both our light and our darkness. Authenticity requires us to create our own meaning. The authentic person is always in a state of becoming. In authenticity, we find the strength to face our mortality. To live authentically is to take full responsibility for our choices. Authenticity is the antidote to the poison of conformity. The authentic life is a continuous act of creation.
Am I the only one that didn't know living authentically starts with embracing absurdity? For Albert Camus, authenticity begins with accepting the absurdity of existence. There's no inherent meaning in the universe, yet we crave it. This conflict is the essence of the absurd. Living authentically means rejecting comforting illusions and facing reality head-on. It's about personal rebellion, creating your own path, not seeking external validation. Camus emphasizes freedom and responsibility. With no predetermined meaning, we're free to define ourselves and make choices true to us. But it's not all grim. Authenticity also means engaging passionately with life, finding joy in art, relationships, and personal pursuits. And despite our solitary nature, Camus highlights the importance of solidarity and human connection. We find common ground in our collective struggle against absurdity. So, are you ready to embrace the absurd and live authentically? Let's get started.
I rebel, therefore we exist. Rebellion is the rejection of slavery in all its forms. At the heart of every rebellion lies a demand for justice. Rebellion is the natural response to the injustice of existence. The true rebel says yes and no at the same time. Rebellion creates values in a world without values. The rebel man is one who refuses to be a slave. Rebellion is the path to true freedom. In rebellion, we discover our solidarity with others. Authentic rebellion rejects violence as a means. The rebel says no to injustice and yes to life. Rebellion is refusing to surrender to fate. In the moment of rebellion, we discover our humanity. Rebellion is choosing life in the face of death. The true rebel rebels for everyone, not just for himself.
The cosmos is vast. It is silent. It is indifferent to our hopes and dreams. This is the absurd reality we must confront. We yearn for meaning, for purpose, for order in a universe that often seems chaotic and uncaring. We search for answers in the stars, in our history, in our very souls. But the universe offers no answers. It simply exists. This realization can be daunting. It can lead to feelings of insignificance, even despair. If the universe is meaningless, what is the point of striving, of hoping, of even living? Is our existence nothing more than a fleeting spark in the cosmic darkness? These are the questions that haunt us when we confront the absurd.
To rebel is to say no to the absurd. It is to refuse to accept a life devoid of meaning or purpose. It is to choose hope over despair, action over apathy. When we rebel, we acknowledge the indifference of the universe, but we refuse to let it define us. We choose to create our own meaning, our own values, our own purpose. This rebellion is not a passive act. It is not a retreat into nihilism or despair. It is an active, defiant assertion of our own humanity. It is a commitment to living a life of passion, of purpose, of meaning, even in the face of a universe that tells us these things are illusions. It is a rejection of the cosmic silence. It is our own human voice, rising in defiance.
Rebellion is not just about rejecting the absurd. It is about affirming our own humanity. When we rebel, we declare that our lives have value. We assert our right to determine our own destinies. We refuse to be defined by the indifferent forces of the universe. This act of defiance is an affirmation of human dignity. It is a recognition that we are not just cogs in a cosmic machine. We are conscious beings, capable of thought, feeling, and action. And in our rebellion, we reclaim our agency. We choose to live lives of meaning and purpose, not because the universe demands it, but because we do. This is the essence of human dignity. It is found not in submission, but in defiance.
Section 4. United we stand, solidarity and collective action. Rebellion is not a solitary pursuit. It thrives on solidarity, on the shared understanding that we are not alone in our struggle against the absurd. When we join hands with others, we amplify our individual voices into a chorus of defiance. We find strength in shared experience, in the knowledge that others are fighting the same battle. This collective action is essential to meaningful rebellion. It reminds us that we are not isolated individuals, but part of a larger human community. It allows us to share the burden of rebellion, to support each other in times of doubt, and to celebrate our victories together. Solidarity transforms rebellion from an individual act of defiance into a collective assertion of our shared humanity.
Section 5. Forging meaning, shared values in the crucible of rebellion. Out of the ashes of our rebellion, new values emerge. These values are not given to us by the universe. They are forged in the crucible of our shared struggle against the absurd. They are born out of our need for connection, for purpose, for meaning in a world that often seems devoid of all three. These values are not abstract or theoretical. They are grounded in the lived experience of rebellion. They are reflected in acts of compassion, solidarity, and courage. They represent the best of humanity, our capacity for love, for empathy, for hope, even in the face of despair. These are the values that give our rebellion meaning. They are the foundation upon which we build a more just and humane world.
Section 6. The Ethical Rebel, Rejecting Oppression, Embracing Humanity. Rebellion, however, is not a license for chaos or destruction. True rebellion is guided by ethics, by a deep respect for human dignity and freedom. It rejects all forms of oppression, whether they stem from tyrannical ideologies or from the indifferent forces of the universe itself. In the works of Albert Camus, we find powerful examples of this ethical rebellion. His characters, like Sisyphus eternally pushing his boulder, or Dr. Rieu battling the plague, embody the spirit of defiance against a meaningless universe. They teach us that even in the face of absurdity, we can choose to act with compassion, to fight for justice, and to never give up hope. Camus reminds us that our rebellion must be grounded in a love for humanity. We rebel not to destroy, but to create. We rebel not to unleash chaos, but to build a more just and compassionate world. Our rebellion is a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit, our ability to find meaning and purpose, even in the face of a universe that seems determined to deny us both. It is in this spirit of ethical rebellion that we find true hope for the future.
Justice without force is powerless. Force without justice is tyrannical. The only way to deal with an unfree world is to become so absolutely free that your very existence is an act of rebellion. Justice is not served by exchanging one form of injustice for another. True justice is giving every man his due. In a world of injustice, the role of the intellectual is to defend justice. Justice delayed is justice denied, but hasty justice is injustice. The quest for justice is humanity's eternal struggle. Justice without mercy is cruelty. Mercy without justice is weakness. In the absence of divine justice, we must create human justice. The measure of a society is found in how it treats its most vulnerable members. Justice is the constant and perpetual will to render to everyone his due. In the face of injustice, silence is complicity. True justice requires both wisdom and compassion. The path to justice is often paved with the courage of individuals. Justice is not just about punishing the guilty, but about restoring balance.
Camus and the pursuit of justice. We peer into the abyss of existence, searching for meaning in a world often devoid of reason. Albert Camus invites us on this journey. He speaks of justice as a tangible yearning rooted in the human experience. Camus challenges us to confront injustice head-on, to rebel against the absurd. Our individual struggles are intertwined with the plight of others. This is the essence of solidarity, the recognition of our shared humanity. Justice is a resounding call to action. It's about standing up for what is right. Section 2. The collective cry, rebellion as a shared language. Rebellion in the Camusian sense is not a solitary act of defiance. It's a symphony of voices rising in unison against oppression. Our individual struggles are threads in a larger tapestry of injustice. Camus urges us to break free from apathy. Our liberation is bound with the liberation of others. It's about righteous anger channeled into meaningful action. Through shared struggles, we build a more equitable society. Section 3, the ties that bind, solidarity and the search for fairness. Solidarity for Camus is the lifeblood of justice. It's the recognition that we are all interconnected, that our fates are intertwined. It's about extending a hand to those who are marginalized, to those whose voices have been silenced. In a world often driven by self-interest, solidarity calls us to embrace empathy, to see the world through the eyes of others, to feel their pain as our own. This interconnectedness, this web of shared experiences is what makes us human. It's what compels us to fight for a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Solidarity is not a passive sentiment, it's an active commitment to justice. It's about showing up for others, about using our voices to amplify theirs. It's about recognizing that our individual well-being is inextricably linked to the well-being of all. Section 4. Dignities embrace the inherent worth of every human. At the core of Camus' philosophy lies an unwavering belief in the inherent worth of every human being. This dignity, this intrinsic value, transcends social status, ethnicity, or creed. Every individual, regardless of their circumstances, deserves to be treated with respect and compassion. This belief forms the foundation of a just society, one that values the rights and freedoms of all its members. To deny someone their dignity is to strip them of their humanity. It's to reduce them to mere objects, to cogs in a machine. Camus reminds us that each life is precious, a unique tapestry of experiences and aspirations. This recognition of human dignity compels us to fight against injustice wherever we find it. It fuels our rebellion against oppression, our unwavering pursuit of a world where everyone can live with respect and fulfillment. Section 5. Navigating the tightrope. Freedom's dance with social order. Camus recognized that the pursuit of justice is a delicate balancing act. It requires navigating the often tenuous relationship between individual freedom and the need for social order. He rejects both absolute freedom, which can lead to chaos and exploitation, and absolute order, which stifles individuality and dissent. True justice, for Camus, lies in finding the equilibrium between these two poles. This means safeguarding individual liberties while ensuring that those freedoms don't infringe on the rights of others. It's about creating a society where individual aspirations can flourish within a framework of shared values and responsibility. This delicate dance requires constant vigilance, a willingness to engage in open dialogue and to challenge systems that perpetuate injustice. It's about recognizing that the pursuit of a just society is an ongoing process, a journey rather than a destination. Section 6. Echoes of Justice. Camus' enduring legacy. Camus' ideas continue to resonate deeply in our world, grappling with complex social and political challenges. His call for rebellion against injustice, his emphasis on solidarity and human dignity provide a moral compass for navigating the uncertainties of our time. In an era marked by increasing polarization and division, Camus reminds us of the importance of empathy and understanding. He challenges us to bridge divides, to recognize our shared humanity and to work together towards a more just and equitable future. His legacy is a beacon of hope, a reminder that even in the face of absurdity and despair, the human spirit yearns for justice. It's a call to action, an invitation to embrace our responsibility to create a world where the dignity of every individual is honored and protected.
Freedom is the right not to lie. Man is free because he is not free. True freedom is the freedom to say no. Freedom without responsibility is tyranny. At the heart of every freedom lies responsibility. Freedom is the opportunity to be better. Freedom begins where ignorance ends. Freedom is the right to choose our constraints. True freedom is the liberation of thought. Freedom is the price we pay to know ourselves. In freedom, we discover our responsibility towards others. Freedom is the ability to refuse what we don't believe in. True freedom is being ourselves without fear. Freedom is the courage to face the consequences of our choices. In freedom, we find the possibility to create meaning for our existence.
Life is absurd, but what if embracing that absurdity is the secret to true freedom? According to Albert Camus, life is inherently absurd and meaningless, but here's the twist: that very absurdity grants us a unique kind of freedom. When we recognize that life lacks any predetermined purpose, we become free to create our own meaning. Camus argues that in the face of absurdity, we must rebel. This rebellion isn't about rejecting absurdity, but accepting it and then acting with freedom and responsibility. Freedom isn't just about breaking free from constraints, it's about owning our actions and decisions. For Camus, true moral freedom comes from recognizing life's absurdity and living ethically within its framework. It's about making considered and ethical choices, even when there's no universal meaning guiding us. Ultimately, Camus believes freedom is deeply personal. It's an individual experience, born from our own interactions with life and its inherent absurdity. Freedom isn't easy, it's a continuous struggle, but through this struggle we can discover a profound sense of personal responsibility and meaning. Embrace the absurd and find your freedom.
The sea has something to say to the thinking man. In the midst of winter, I found there was, within me, an invincible summer. Nature is the only book that offers its content on every page. The beauty of nature reconciles us with the absurdity of life. In nature, we find the silence necessary to hear ourselves. The lessons of nature are the deepest lessons of life. Nature reminds us of our place in the grand scheme of things. In the face of nature's indifference, we find our true strength. Nature teaches us acceptance of life's cycles. The sea has something to say to the thinking man. The simplicity of nature contrasts with the complexity of human existence. In nature, we rediscover our primal connection to the world. Nature's beauty is a balm for the existential wound. The rhythms of nature teach us patience and perseverance. In nature's vastness, we find both our insignificance and our uniqueness. Nature is the canvas on which we paint the meaning of our existence.
If you don't like feeling small but still ponder life's big questions, then lean in for a mind-bending ride. For Albert Camus, nature is the ultimate indifferent observer. It operates on its own terms, ignoring our human dramas and desires. This indifference is the essence of the absurd, our struggle for meaning clashing with an uncaring universe. In the myth of Sisyphus, Camus paints nature as beautiful yet brutal, a stark contrast to human yearning for clarity. Imagine Sisyphus, endlessly rolling his boulder with nature's impassive gaze as his only audience. But here's the twist. Camus also finds profound beauty in nature. It's a source of solace, a reminder that even amidst the absurd, there are moments of joy and connection. Think of The Stranger, where the protagonist's moments of clarity happen in nature's embrace. Nature provokes existential reflection. Its vastness and permanence make us ponder our fleeting existence. In this reflection, we confront the absurd and perhaps find a deeper understanding of our place in the universe. So, next time you find yourself lost in nature, remember, it's not about finding meaning. It's about experiencing life fully, absurdity and all.